just calling the same story for the third time in an hour. And I'm drunk again. But rest easy, 'cause there's gotta be some kind of truth in what I'm saying.
On here. Well, welcome to Whiskey, Weights and Whey. I'm Chuck,
I'm Zach.
and today we are just going to drink and talk about whatever comes up. Hopefully, we don't have as much static as we did last time.
Yeah.
So we apologize. It's different systems work. It's the same mics we use for everything. The static is hit or miss if it's on this podcast or if on the live stream. But I'm going to go ahead and pour me a glass of Fireside. There you go.
Thanks, sir.
So a lot's happened since our last podcast. We did a couple of live streams over the weekend. Me and Trey Gobbold added a couple new members to the channel. So we are now past the double-digit mark. We have 11 members to the channel. So I want to shout out them real quick. Let me see if I can get that pulled up. Anything new for you while I do this?
Anything new? There's some developments going on.
Anything that you can share publicly at this time?
Not yet. Not yet. No, nothing's really been new. I think there's a chance the race I was going to do in November may be canceled because of the hurricane. They got extensive damage up that way.
Oh, yeah.
So if that is the case, I think I'm just going to throw an audible and potentially just like go camping in the Smokies or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Just
that's horrible what's going on up there. Just not to get into conspiracy stuff, but you know, the damage up there is just insane.
It's horrific.
I was watching a video of a family. They showed outside their door looking down. There was a road. It was a deep little drop off to the road. And then there was I won't say small, but like a, typical size, what you would consider a river, not a creek or dam or a stream, but a river flowing normal. And it was like before the storm. By the time it was like 24 hours later after the storm had gone through, the water was up to the house. It was it grew, I'd say at least 50 yards towards them and then rose at least 20 foot, and you see houses floating by their house. It was just devastating.
I have some friends that live in Asheville. A buddy that I paced back in like 2018 at the Pinhoti 100. Him and his wife or fiance, I can't remember if they're married now or not, but they kind of got stranded. And so another pair of friends from Atlanta drove up, weaseled their way in and got them out of the situation. So it's tough.
Yeah, it is tough when you have stuff like that going on. And then you got this other one that's hitting tonight. But today it's hit a few. The eye hasn't landed yet, I don't think.
Right.
Milton is what it's called.
I think so.
He's talking about the wind speeds a bit being some of the highest I've ever seen. It's insane. And we got friends down there that had just decided to, had a work trip planned for that. They didn't cancel the work trip. It was like a conference. So the whole family decided to go down there for Disney. They booked it months ago. And the business didn't cancel it. They just kept it down there. So I don't know if they evacuated or what.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Well, chin chin.
Chin chin.
Hopefully that's the last devastating thing we talk about today. Well, let's shout out some of these new people on here. We got Jonathan Chappell. We met him down at the Beast of Bay. He won the novice class.
Okay.
He joined us over the weekend. Olivia Powell, who has competed at our show. She was doing the Southeast just a couple weeks ago when we were streaming it. And then coming up on half a month, we got Destiny, Manny, Cadence, Devin. And then at 1 month, we got Nathan, Stan, and Miss Rosalinda. 2 months, Miss Tasia Benton. And then 3 months is Trey Gobbold. So thank you to all of our members and our sponsor. Go ahead and knock that out. Cerberus Strength USA is a sponsor of the channel. Make sure you check them out. The link's down in the description below. We are actually starting to look and sound more like a real podcast with members and sponsors and everything else.
Yeah.
We're getting professional. Now, if we could
Bro.
only get paid like that.
Maybe eventually.
Hope so. So our last episode, we started talking about doctors, and it got me into the conspiracy mood.
Mm.
I don't know if we can monetize this if we talk about a lot of conspiracies, but I kind of want to just talk about some of the craziest conspiracies we've heard, because I've heard so many lately.
What's the newest one you've heard?
Oh,
How's
it's-
the weather?
Well, it's
Obviously,
definitely the
but
weather one. And I'm going to sound like a nut job. I promise you, I don't believe all this. I'm just repeating what I've seen and heard.
Don't be ashamed of what you believe.
Now, I'm honest about what I believe in. I'm not saying I believe all of this, but so, and again, this is all for entertainment purposes. I don't know if that helps, but I see people do that in their videos all the time. So
You don't want a black helicopter swooping down and
wiping out, which that's one of the ones I'm going to talk about. Okay. But no, like, so there's 2 projects that's on the government website that I think one of them is Project Cirrus with a C, and the other one I'm blanking on what it's called right now. But I actually went to the National Weather Association's website and looked them up because I didn't believe the person who said it. Of course, I went and looked it up. The first one was a project done in like the 1940s. They dropped dry ice into the eye of a hurricane. They wanted to test to see how it affected it. You know, the freezing cold rain in the center of the eye, and it was a hurricane that was in the Atlantic going up the East Coast. They flew out. They made sure it was like already leaving the area.
Yeah.
It was the direct path going into the ocean. They flew out, dropped whatever amount of dry ice. I don't know how many pounds or whatever. But when they did that, the next morning they flew back out. And this is in 1940, so they didn't have the tracking systems we do now. They flew back out to where the trajectory was. Couldn't find it. It was like 19 miles east. It had taken like a 180-degree turn and shot right back into the Carolinas, killed a couple of people, and it was apparently back then it was all over the news, and the communities in those areas were up in arms that the government were testing on hurricanes. And they blamed the government for the project that they were doing, dropping dry ice, for the change in direction. And then, so that's factual. You can come in.
housekeeping.
We're doing a conspiracy theory video. You want to join?
Which Mandela effect are you on?
We're talking about hurricanes and dry ice right now.
Hurricanes and what?
Dry ice, Project Cyrus.
I'm not educated enough to be on this conversation.
Neither am I. I'm just relaying what I read.
What you read or what you heard?
What I read.
What video did you listen to?
I read on
Did you
the
read along with the subtitles?
on the damn.
She's
That's
coming
my
in
wife.
hot.
That's my wife, people.
Wifey coming in hot.
Yes. Yes. I'm gonna leave this in the video too. I love you.
Love you. Bye, y'all.
Take care of our girls.
Debunked.
I will go find it and link it in the description
It's
down
the
below.
first thing that you're going to do when you get home.
Yes, I swear. When I post this video, it's going to be in the link. Hopefully. And unless the government's taking it off the website now, that could have happened.
Now you're going to come see me in the high court.
But no, it was, and they quit. They disbanded the project afterwards because there was such a backlash from the communities.
Did
that
they
were
only
impacted.
test it once?
So they did that in the 40s.
Okay.
It was a lot of hypothetical stuff, a lot of, this is
Theory.
what I would think would happen.
Yeah.
And then they executed once, had a catastrophe, and then they disbanded. And then in the 60s, they attempted it again. And I cannot remember the project name for that one. And it didn't have as severe impact as the original, but it did deviate from its planned trajectory. But hurricanes, you can never.
I was going to say, like,
Yeah.
what's stopping it from being just a normal transition?
Yeah, I mean, we know hurricanes, they change. There's the cone is how far north it can go and how far south it can go. It's not the actual hurricane itself, but the 180-degree turn, that one kind of threw me. That's a pretty intense, because I mean that's
But for me, it's we tested this thing one time.
Mhm.
We're basing it off. I did this one
Mhm.
time, and this catastrophe happened.
and again, I'm not saying this works.
I feel
I'm
like
just saying
this is linking.
But they took that factual situation, like it's documented,
Mhm.
it happened,
Yeah.
and they're using it now to say Helene, was it Helene?
Oh, I have no idea.
The one that went through North Carolina. Yep. So whichever one that one was, they're saying that the government affected this one the same way because there is a flight path, which there's always a flight path into a hurricane because that's the National Hurricane Tracking System. They fly into it to check into different things.
Right.
So, but it flew out of Louisiana, did several circles as it was coming into Tampa, and when it flew out, it went north. Like that turn happened as the plane flew out shortly after. So they're claiming that the government affected it. And the whole reason is because there's a lithium mine under what the city that got destroyed. It's one of the largest lithium mines that's untapped.
Yeah.
And that's true. And there's lots of people saying that you can't, they're not going to be able to rebuild. The government saying we're going to demolish everything is now going to be no longer your property. I don't know if that's true or not.
I got you.
But that's just like the rabbit hole that I went down.
Okay.
And then
I'm here for a good conspiracy.
But then the topper to it all, like I've never trusted FEMA because of true things that happened with Target.
Mm.
I don't know how much I'm supposed to share of this. This is factual. I know this for a fact. When Katrina took out Louisiana, I know people who were on the teams who were over loss prevention down there. I know he was I think it was called the DAPTL, the District Asset Protection Team Leader. He was coordinating services. He was getting RVs, fuel trucks. They had a fuel truck parked out behind one of the targets to come and so the company trucks can refuel and they can get to different places. But as they were driving down, FEMA blockaded the road, started commandeering RVs, generators, everything. They took it from the people bringing it down there to help and said, no, we're going to take this from you and then we're going to redistribute it as needed. I don't like that. I don't like the government saying we're here to help and give me everything you've got so I can help the people instead of just let us help. So like Target rerouted everybody back when they heard that was happening. So because the RVs were being rented, they weren't even ours to take. They were rented RVs that we were using to go down there. But they're doing similar things in North Carolina right now. And I saw a post about it, and then I saw the actual video. There was a post, somebody talking about, we've got this donation center. We're grilling food. We're handing out hot dogs. We got goods that you need, toiletries. And they said this black helicopter came down over us, blew everything away, and then flew off. And then I saw the video, and it truly did happen. Like this black helicopter, they're saying Black Hawk, I don't know, but it came down. I mean, the wind thrust on those blades is insane. Oh, yeah. And they do this sometimes, like in war and stuff. They'll come down and take back off.
Utilize it as a technique.
Yeah. So they came down, and you see tents go flying, grills go flying, everything blow off, and then it just takes off. And they were like, there's no reason for it to come. That was not a scheduled time for anything to land. There was no reason for it to do this. Yeah. It's like, it's just whenever somebody's trying to help, it seems like the government is like, no, let me help, and then screws everything up. Oh, long-winded rant.
No, I'm here for it.
That's the rabbit hole I've been going down lately. And like I said, I don't believe it all, but it's entertaining to me to go and say, this is a real project that happened in the 40s. This is a very unique situation that's tied to a very potentially profitable government site.
Right.
So, I don't have the strings on the wall yet. I wasn't going to emphasize that.
You got them in the closet, just not on the wall yet.
It's right there on the desk. So what's the craziest conspiracy theory you've heard, recent or all time?
I don't know. I really love the theory that we are living in a simulation.
I love that one too.
It's one of my favorites. Because I think the odds are really good that we are currently in it's at least 50-50.
Yeah.
But that's just always been fascinating to me. And I think it's because there's so many crazy synchronicities and coincidences that seem, I know you could be like, oh, this is divine, but it also feels very programmed.
Mhm.
And also, and I believe that we have a lot of power in our consciousness, and what we focus on obviously could potentially come true. Like
Mhm.
it's all just directed energy, but it's just there's been so many little things that's happened in my life. I'm like, there's no way that that just happened when I just like thought through that.
Yes. No, I agree. Um,
It just feels very video gamey.
if it's the case, though, I wish I would have selected the easier mode.
But hard mode's the best mode.
Dude, we're on expert right now. I think no, I ain't gonna say that. That'll get me canceled. Oh.
But
Anyway,
I mean, so one of my good friends, she just gave me a book. I haven't started reading it yet, just because I had finished the test and all these other things that needed to be checked
Mhm.
before I could start it. But essentially, it's a psychiatrist that does case studies on past lives, hypnosis, past life regressions, and things like that. And it essentially says it calculated all these experiences and was saying, hey, this is kind of what happens when you pass away, like
Mhm.
the path the soul takes. And it goes, and apparently it goes into, you know, we come back and choose what we need to learn.
Mhm.
You know, if we need to be more empathetic, we're given situations where we're provided to be more empathetic. And so it makes me wonder, I feel personally, I feel as though I've lived multiple times.
Mhm.
Just I feel like
That
maybe,
old soul.
yeah, and I think I have like low neuroticism, so I'm not really emotional. Like I'm very stable when it comes to emotions, but I don't get overly excited. I don't get overly sad. I just
Mhm.
feel like I maintain. Like I was when I give you good news, a lot of times I'm delivering it like very matter of fact, like, hey,
Oh
I
yeah.
just passed my test. Like I'm excited. I
Mhm.
can't show it like somebody else would show it.
Yeah.
And I just really started thinking about it. Like I would win ultras, and I would, you know, be on the mound to strike out the person to put us to the World Series, like
Yeah.
these epic moments. And I just didn't feel that massive joy that I've seen and witnessed other people feel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, something wrong with me?
No.
And it's not. I think it's just I've lived these experiences multiple times, and not that they become dull or dumbed down. It's just I'm better at managing them, I think.
Mm.
And so it makes me wonder, what did I choose to come back to learn this time?
If that's the case, I feel like I only get really emotional with extreme positivity.
Hmm.
And it's not like I get overly joyous. Sometimes I cry when something good happens to me because I don't know how to react to that.
100%.
Like obviously when I married Alex, when I saw her, I
Yeah.
boo-hooed. But just if you look at the live stream, I don't know if you can see it, but like when we did the Beast of the Bay and then USS right after it,
Hmm.
when they thanked us, like the Steve was doing his little thank you to everybody who helped, everything. He named us. We got a round of applause. I didn't know how to react to that. I just dropped my head because I was like, I'm going to start boohooing if I don't.
Right.
But when it comes to negativity, somebody being violent, I'm pretty level headed.
Yeah.
Like I've been in situations where uh, people have attacked me
Yeah.
and attacked people around me, and my go-to is to restrain and calm down the situation. Like
Right.
and I've been. I can't say I've never blown up, but it's
Yeah.
very far in between. So I'm wondering if I'm like halfway along my journey.
I think going back to being emotional with being told, like, I'm proud of you or
Mhm.
things like that, I think, especially men, it's hard to express that.
Mhm.
And I have found myself getting emotional when people are like, genuinely say, "Hey, I'm super proud of you. I've seen how hard you work."
Mhm.
I was like, I don't like this. Like, I don't know how to handle this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's when I'm feeling that emotion. And that's something I need to work on. And I've been journaling a lot lately about being being a fan of your friends. Like,
Mhm.
not just be like, good job, like, no, but like supporting you like I would support a ball team. I want to be
Yeah.
a fan. I want to be all up in your corner. So when you succeed, I'm thrilled. I'm excited for you.
Mhm.
And I think it's so important for us to be fans of our friends and just have that undying support and positivity and celebrate when they're successful. And if they're not successful, pick their asses up and let's get back on track.
100%.
And I feel like it's so hard for people to express that support sometimes,
Mhm.
especially in the male culture, because it's just like you should just know that you're doing a good job.
Oh yeah. I've gotten to the point where now I'll tell close friends, I love you. I don't care.
Oh, 100%. We say it almost every time we go.
Exactly. It's so stigmatized.
Yeah.
It's not weird to tell somebody you love them.
No,
I mean,
it shouldn't be.
So I get exactly what you're saying with that. And I apologize because I was kind of spilling your good news for you because I was trying to.
I know.
I was excited for you.
No,
yeah.
I know, and that's part of it, and that's what I feel like is important for not just men but people to celebrate everybody's wins.
Oh yeah.
And just there's no telling how many people that just need to hear, I'm proud of you for working. I'm proud of you for working towards this. A lot of my clients, they live independently. Typically in the public mental health field, you're working with, from a socioeconomic standpoint, a lower class. And so they don't have that support that maybe me and you have. They maybe don't have the ability and the privilege to have opportunities like coming to the gym and making those connections and having supportive individuals that are already taking action to improve their lives. So when they come into session or they come into group or they come in and they hear, I'm proud of you for taking those steps to try to improve X.
Yeah.
Or I recognize, hey, you may have struggled with this, but I'm proud of you for taking the steps to do Y. I see what you're doing. It's like they get emotional because they don't have anybody in their lives that are actually proud of them.
Yeah.
And that breaks my fucking heart. Like it really does.
Yeah, that's miserable.
And so it makes me think, it's like, how are my daily interactions, are they uplifting that individual? Like even like going to Walmart, like walking in, like it's nothing for me to smile. It's nothing for me to say, hey, it's nothing for me to compliment your hat, dude. Like, but if we all just took the time to do something so simple and just be on each other's team, it would literally change the world.
I know I kind of got pissed off today for not any good reason. I was here working and I got a camera on the front. So anytime motion's on the front of the building, I know somebody's here. And I got notification that was motion, just pulled it down, looked at it. It was a guy walking. He was walking down the sidewalk of our business. No cars in the parking lot. So literally, I thought he was coming to the front door.
Yeah.
So I hop up, I walk down there and I see him. He's already gone past the door and he's kind of rounding the edge of the parking lot. There's nobody at the building next door. So he's just doing a big loop in our parking lot. And I was just trying to be funny. I opened the door. I was like, hey, man, if you're looking for a good place to work out and get your steps in, you come on in here. And I didn't anticipate him come in. I was not expecting to make any sales off of this. I was just trying to hey, have a good interaction with somebody who's in my parking lot and let them know at least, hey, I'm here.
We're a gym, yeah.
Well, not even that. Just, hey, there's somebody in this building.
Right.
Just so you know, I'm not a creeper staring out the window at you. And he looked at me and he goes, I'm just here for today. I was like, okay, that's fine, buddy. I'm just trying to have a positive engagement with you, And I was like, well, if somebody would have said that to me, I would have laughed out and just been like, hey, appreciate it. No, I'm good, and just moved on. But the fact that he shut down, literally looked at me, shut down before he responded, I was like, you got some stuff to work out.
Yeah. But it makes you also think what types of interactions have been so negative that he automatically assumes that this person is speaking negatively to him.
That's true.
And so for me, it's like I have to gut check myself all the time because same for me. It would be like, oh, dude, I'm just out for a walk, casual, but we have those social skills that we've been able to practice.
Or, hear me out, he's an NPC. Because he looped my parking lot several times in the exact same path. So this is virtual reality. He's just an NPC, and I engaged with it, and he gave me the normal reaction, like, hello, traveler.
Now, did you see
I didn't see where he went or where he came from.
But did you see any birds watching him? Because we know birds are just cameras.
You know what? I can't pinpoint any specific birds. No.
But maybe he was in NPC. I love that's one of my favorites too.
Well, when we're getting back to the conspiracy part of that, you're talking about with virtual reality or living in a virtual reality. There is a secondary theory to that there's a set amount of souls
Yeah.
that regenerate or have reincarnation.
Right.
So if there's a set amount of souls reincarnating over and over again, how are we growing to 8 billion people or 8 trillion people in the world? Is it billion or trillion?
A billion, probably. Yeah.
Billion. So 8 billion people in the world. Well, it has to be some non-playable characters.
So
in
if we get
NPC,
so if we get into parallel universes, right? And
Yeah.
so your consciousness, like whatever your consciousness is illuminating, that's your present reality.
Mhm.
So if my there may be 8 billion Zacks floating
Mhm.
around living the same little life, just a little bit different. And so if my consciousness is in this Zack in this present moment, and maybe Chuck's consciousness is in level 247, and so you're still here as Chuck, but your consciousness is there. So that's the playable character.
Yeah.
So this is a non-playable character.
Mm-hmm.
So you're still filling this 8 billion person planet. So it just makes you wonder, like, where is your consciousness?
Because there have been people that I've engaged with, and I'm like, they weren't there with me. Like I had a conversation with them. I tried to engage, and it was like nothing ever came back. I mean, it could be an NPC, it could just be an idiot, but
Right.
to each their own. But talking about the parallels, that leads into the Mandela effect. So going into two different things, we talked about it one time at dinner. It's like that consciousness bouncing across different timelines. It's very small changes. It could just be that the remote's on that side of the table versus this side of the table. And, we bounce between the two. We don't even notice. But if you die, if you die in the consciousness lane, it jumps to the next one and you just pick up and carry on. That's why when you have those near-death experiences, your life flashes and it's you loading in the new life.
It's a matrix shit.
Exactly. So like hypothetically, I get in a car wreck, I see my life flash before my eyes, I come out of it okay, but I'm in a new timeline because I just downloaded the next timeline.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
We might lose some followers for this video, but I don't care. We might gain some. I don't know.
So that goes to the point, like, do we die?
Or do we just move to the next lane?
Right. If it's all if the theory's true, if energy can't be
we're 30 minutes in. Like before we move on, if you've got a good conspiracy theory, because this video might go a little longer, I don't know. Comment down below. Let us know what your favorite conspiracy theory is. My favorite of all time is Mandela effects. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
So for those of you watching, if you're living on a rock and you don't know, the Mandela effect is named after Nelson Mandela, who supposedly at one point died in the prison. There was a book written about it. I think President Bush spoke about his death in the 80s, and then he actually got out of prison and died in 2000 something. So he lived well past the 80s, and that became the name of remembering one thing and it being something different. Now, I think there's two paths to this. I do believe that things have shifted, and at some point we've either jumped timelines or something historic, time travel or something has changed something. But the other half, I think, is both government and corporations trying to just screw with our head. Because, for example, Hanes logo, what do you remember it looking like? Or no, sorry, Hanes, Fruit of the Loom.
Fruit of the Loom. It had the
cornucopia.
Yes. That's what I remember.
So that's what I remember. I worked at Target. I stocked the shelves. I remember hanging shirts or the packs of Fruit of the Loom shirts with the cornucopia. You can't find it anywhere, but there was a girl who went down and dug through like boxes and boxes and boxes of clothes in the attic. She finally found the original tags that had the cornucopias. But if you go to the Fruit of the Loom and like search it, they deleted all existence of it. But the one that pisses me off, and I am the only one apparently that remembers this. Chick-fil-A was never had a K when I was a kid. It was Chickfila, because I remember distinctively when the first Chick-fil-A showed up in Alabaster. I remember I wasn't that young. I was probably 9 or 10 years old. But I looked to my mom. I said, "Why do they call it Chick-fil-A with no K when it's chicken? Why wouldn't they call it Chick-fil-A?" And I remember having this conversation with her, and I heard distinctly saying, "Christopher, I don't know," because I used to ask a lot of dumb questions like that. But I remember the
don't
one in
remember.
Alabaster being Chick-fil-A. And then, of course, the Berenstain Bears and Berenstain
Oh,
Bears.
yeah.
Is there something that you remember
Abs-
different?
No, but it goes back to 1984,
Mhm.
the book. I don't know if you've ever read it or not,
Mhm.
but it basically, the government is essentially controlling the history books. So they're basically
Yeah.
rewriting said, oh, here's how it actually happened.
Yeah.
And so that it always makes me think about that. I have to let you borrow a copy of that if you've been reading lately, or if like you want to get back into it. I don't know.
As Alex so sweetly put it, if it's not subtitles on a TikTok, I'm probably not reading it. Thanks, babe. Calling me out like that. I like to read studies. That is something that I do read. I like to go and find either case studies, especially for work. So I have to read it for safety and stuff, but also like fitness research papers and stuff like that. Different techniques.
Someone's asked me the other day if I like nonfiction or fiction. I can't get into fiction. There's a few, like there's a handful of books that I'll read for fiction like over and over again, but mostly like into philosophy, leadership, self-improvement.
My problem is my mind tends to wander too much,
Mm.
especially with fiction. So, like if it's nonfiction or it's like some kind of study or something like that, I'm reading for a purpose. I'm trying to learn something. If I'm trying to read for enjoyment, I'd love, like, for instance, Harry Potter. Huge Potterhead. Like when I was a kid, I loved the books, but to get through a damn book, I had to have the audio tape and I had to follow along with the book because if I had one or the other, my mind was somewhere else. When school gave us book reports to do, we had to read a small book and do a report on it. It was a battle with me personally to do that because I would read a whole page, and by the time I got to the bottom, I'm thinking about football practice for the next day and what I needed to wear and what I need to pack. And I'm like, damn it, what did I just read? I have to go back and reread the whole. And it took me 2 or 3 times reading a page before I got through the page and knew what happened. I don't know if that's ADD or ADHD, but like that's always been my issue, reading something for enjoyment versus for a purpose.
I think I have that craving to learn, and so that's why I like nonfiction more from a philosophical standpoint. But if it's fiction, I want to be entertained, so I want to see it.
Yeah,
I'm more of a visual person when it comes to fiction, so
yeah.
really love
Now,
movies.
I can
and
read
things
comic
like,
books. I love like
I don't know that
reading
I've ever
manga and stuff.
even read a comic book my entire life.
I read digital ones just because I'm not paying for paperback ones. I'm going to read one time and throw in the closet.
Yeah,
But I'm a nerd. I read the Dragon Ball manga. I'm like way ahead of what's out on the show, but I'll watch it when it comes out again because it's slightly different. But yes, reading is. I can read. You may not know it by the way I speak or type, but I can read.
I didn't really start to read until after grad school.
Yeah.
So when I went to grad school, there was a lot of prescribed reading. There was a lot of things I wanted to read, but it wasn't until after grad school I was like, okay, I can I can read what I want to read now and dive deeper into those things. So reading's something I typically do every single day, even if it's just a couple pages.
Yeah.
But I just started a new book, so I'm really into it.
Gotcha. What you reading?
Dichotomy of Leadership.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the soul book that Susie gave me.
Gotcha. Well, do you have any other conspiracy theories that you can think of off the top of your head? We've gone through some good ones.
Not off the top of my head. Nothing I can think of. Katie be pissed if I didn't mention Bigfoot.
Oh. So saw. Um, I don't know if it's a faux documentary or pretending to be a documentary.
Yeah.
This guy was talking about he's friends with a Bigfoot, and he was telling he was treating it like it was a news story. So I don't know if it was satire or not, but it seemed like this guy truly believed it. He was talking to local news, and he has befriended a Bigfoot and found out that Bigfoots came here with the Anunnaki, who they say is the creator. They say the conspiracy theory is the Anunnaki came and created current mankind, like
Okay.
genetic splicing and stuff like that's another theory or a conspiracy theory. But the Bigfoot came like Chewbacca as the protectors of the Anunnaki
Okay.
against dinosaurs. And I love it. I'm here for it. I'm picturing an alien driving through space with a Bigfoot next to him, screaming out just like Chewbacca, because they leak stuff to us through media all the time. So that's exactly what happened. And he came here and he's fighting dinosaurs by hand.
They need to make a movie of that.
They do.
They do.
And he's like, they say, well, why do they hide out? And he's like, because they don't trust our government. It's like, well, I don't trust our government, but I ain't hiding in the woods.
At least they don't have to pay taxes.
Yeah, true.
That's
That's a sore subject. I pay my taxes. So, trying to think if there's any other good conspiracy theories before we hop off of here. So my favorites, the Mandela effects. The Matrix one is good. I like that one. And I'm a pretty religious person, so like I have to be careful not to be sacrilegious with some of mine. But there's the this is not even a really conspiracy theory. It's just something that came up in science recently. There is potentially Dyson spheres that they have discovered. You know what that is?
Mm-mm.
So they theorized this years ago. It was building a structure around a star or the sun and harnessing the energy from it. So it would be like multiple rings going around the outside of the sun and just all that energy radiating out. They like solar panels just built around, which would be an astronomical feat to build. Because you got to think about how large it is. But they have discovered objects in space recently that have very similar structure and tendencies of what they theorized a Dyson sphere would have. And it's because it's like a star that light disappears periodically, which would be it rotating around. So it goes in and out, in and out, in and out. It's like twinkling kind of thing, but in a rhythmic and pattern. And somebody one of my favorite conspiracy people on TikTok was like, it's not a Dyson sphere, it's an angel. Because there is depictions of angels. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen Ancient Aliens.
Oh yeah.
So in the Bible, it talks about certain angels looking like these massive eyes floating with machinery floating around it. And it's almost exactly like if you just take the eyeball, like the pupil out and just put a sun in, it's exactly what a Dyson sphere looks like image side by side.
Okay.
So they're like, people are saying they're not seeing Dyson spheres. They're seeing angels out there, and the end times are coming.
Of course, the end times have always been coming.
And now we got a second moon. Apparently, it's temporary.
What is this gonna do for the full moon chaos that is my life?
Oh God, that's twice as much.
Oh.
Yeah, that was another thing last week, because I am deep into conspiracy TikTok. It's funny seeing people just get on these rants. There was a dude, he was every day, the moon's been missing. Have you seen the moon lately? I haven't seen it in 4 days. I'm on day 6. I'm on day 7. Walked out last night. I'm like, there's the crescent moon. It was a new moon. That's the face. It disappears for a few nights.
You don't see it.
Exactly. And then
It comes basic science.
But it was like every time they go through a new moon cycle, this guy's like, have you seen the moon lately? We're supposed to have 2 of them, and now we got none of them.
My guy.
Which makes me think of James Spann. Have you seen his Facebook page?
Not recently, I don't think.
Let me see if I can pull it up. Well, if you got a few more minutes.
Yeah.
Because James Spann is, if anybody watches this who's not from Alabama, He is our go-to weather guy for the state, and he's won national awards. I've seen him speak probably 3 or 4 times at different places, and he gets so fired up when people get on his page and start talking stupid conspiracy theories and stuff, because he's all about the facts. I mean, his whole goal is to keep people alive.
Yeah.
Let's see. So this post was 2 days ago. It says, "Dear Americans, professional meteorologists are tired. Another major hurricane has formed and is headed for the Florida Peninsula, so it will be another busy week." See, I can read. "We have a favor to ask if you believe. The moon has disappeared." Oh, so we have a favor to ask if you believe the following. The moon has disappeared and was nuked by the government. Hurricanes are steered and controlled by chemtrails and HARP. Every federal agency, including the National Weather Service, now exists and has orders to help a certain political candidate win the election. All hurricane relief workers are being jailed, and 4 more hurricanes are being steered into Florida this month. Can you just keep off this page? He's just,
Oh my gosh.
leave me alone.
Right.
And then I click on the comments because I know people are idiots. The first thing that says, "Just the MAGA movement for you, James. They don't believe in science." And his exact response was, "No politics either."
He is pretty fabulous
He
when
is.
it comes to that.
Oh, like I saw him speak back in August at our safety conference, and he was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because he was just giving so much shit to people. Because it's one thing to indulge and have fun reading and listening to these people, but when people start believing and taking tips off of a TikTok hurricane specialist
Right.
versus a true meteorologist, that's when people
Like,
die.
come on.
Yeah. So listen to the professionals.
Right.
Oh, well, this has been a fun episode.
It has been a great episode. I've enjoyed this.
Yeah. I've been wanting to do one of these for a while, but I wanted to at least get a little bit into it. Yeah. You know, we're on episode 20. Our next episode will be Old Enough to Drink.
Yeah.
So cheers. Nobody cares. Train hard.
Train hard.
Train hard.
Last call, finish all your whiskey.